We are back with the Fox News Alert. Overnight, Georgia Senator Tom Price confirmed as the next Health and Human Services Secretary. This as the Trump administration continues to blast Senate Democrats for their obstruction in confirming the president's cabinet picks.
The fact that we had to get to the point where the vice president had to be pulled in to overcome the Democrats' historic and partisan logjam of the president's qualified nominee is another glaring reminder of the unprecedented obstruction that Senate Democrats have engaged in throughout this process.
And you know what? He's not wrong. By the time President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama had their first day in the Oval Office, 7 of their cabinet picks had been confirmed. Compare that to President Trump's first day in office, only 2 of his people had been confirmed. Now, 22 days into his presidency, Mr. Trump still doesn't have a full cabinet. We just got the Attorney General yesterday, as Democrats continue to drag their feet. So what's going on? Let's talk to Fox News contributor Lisa Boothe. She's the founder and president of High Noon Strategies, also a contributor for the Washington Examiner. Lisa, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
Okay, so what are the Democrats doing? Because to a lot of people, it looks like they're just saying no, 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 even though everybody's getting a yes, yes, yes.
Well, and that's exactly what they're doing, because as you astutely pointed out, George W. Bush I think he had his entire cabinet approved by this point in 2001. President Obama was almost there as well. So we really are seeing historic obstructionism by the Democratic Party. And look, Steve, it's not surprising given the fact that the Democratic Party, since the day that President Trump won, they've been trying to delegitimize him. They called for electors to defect. They called for the abolishment of the Electoral College. So they are so blinded by their hatred in President Trump. So I really think that's what we're seeing right now in their attempts to derail his nominations in the confirmation process.
Well, apparently Chuck Schumer, who is the minority leader in the Senate, is freaked out because he's got no play. The Republicans run the Senate, they run the House, they run the White House as well. So what does he have in his, the quiver in his, the arrow in his quiver? It's to say no, and that's it. And he's terrified he's going to be the shortest tenured minority leader in history in the U.S. Senate, and Elizabeth Warren's going to come in and take things over.
Well, and what's interesting here, too, Steve, is the fact that the reason why the Democratic Party has no cards to play is because they're the ones that invoked the nuclear option in 2013. So they would be able to filibuster and have a say with some of these nominees if they hadn't have done that. So it's really their own fault in the fact that Republicans... Yeah, exactly. Blame Harry Reid. But, Steve, I will tell you that it is damaging and dangerous for the Democratic Party to play this game, because there are 10 Senate Democrats that are extremely vulnerable in states that President Trump won, 5 states that President Trump won by double digits.
We're talking about a map of that.
Yep, 42 points in a state like West Virginia. So those Democrats need to be very careful about the votes that they're taking here in the next few months.
You're right about that. Otherwise, it could be Elizabeth Warren running the Senate. But then again, the Republicans would love to have a Harvard professor from Massachusetts running the Senate, wouldn't they?
Yes, she is pretty darn liberal and pretty progressive. And you know, what's interesting here is Mayor Rahm Emanuel has recently called for the Democratic Party to moderate, and I think he's absolutely right. But if they go in the direction of Elizabeth Warren, that's not happening.
All right. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us on this
Thank
Friday.
you,
Have
Steve.
a great weekend.
You too.